Hello, everyone. Hello, Dino. How are you today?
Doing great. Doing great. A little cloudy day because of the hurricanes, but that's part of the seasons, I suppose. How are you doing?
Yes. I'm doing good, thanks. We had good rain here in San Diego. Can you believe it? It was like a big occasion, as it is when it rains, right? But now the sun's shining. So just contrast of weather. Today, I want to speak about something that's it's this time of the year, right? And for me, this year, the new year starts after my birthday, November. I know it's random, but that's just the way life is. And it's at this time when I start thinking about like what I've done in the year and what I want to do. It's just the way it is. And I've been thinking about, and you've been talking about it a lot as well. So I think it'll just work its way. And I've been talking about settling. I've seen it a lot as well, how we just settle. We settle for the life we live, It's like suddenly it's okay to live this life. It's okay to do the same thing every day, or to do the same thing every week, or to have the same appointments, or whatever it is. But is that really so? I mean, why? Why should we settle for a mediocre life? And why should we settle for breadcrumbs? Now, that's just my thoughts now at this time. So I'm thinking, let's talk about settling. Why should we settle? And must we settle for breadcrumbs, or must we settle for a mediocre life when there's so much out there and so much potential and so much opportunity? What are your thoughts on that, Dino?
Well, it's an entire chapter of my book, that's for sure. I called it coasting in my book, and that's exactly how I felt. But, I totally understand what you're saying. On the other hand, if somebody's found exactly their utopia, I mean, obviously you want to kind of stay there, right? You want to savor that moment.
Yes.
And want to make it forever. As we know from several of these podcasts, there is no forever, it's ever changing. But I do have to agree with, give yourself those mild hurdles, give yourself that gratification, right? When you're in utopia, don't just pass it by. I mean, feel it, savor it, soak it up.
Jeez.
Don't lounge there, but it is a good feeling, right? And without those good feelings, I think it's a lot harder to get through the tough times, right?
Yes.
But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Why would you bring up settling today as you're doing your year reflection?
Well, settling, someone said to me, you've done so much this year. And of course, I never do think that I do, And I made a list of things, but that's besides the point. But I realized that I do always the same things, because that I have like my cleaning business. So I do every alternate Tuesday, I go here or I go there or I go anywhere. And right now I'm thinking, do I really need to do that? Why am I settling? Because it is a mediocre life. I should be like elevating my life, right? So what I'm saying is it's all very well to do what you do every day, like, post on social media and write the articles and do the, it's like you partner with people, like now I'm partnering with someone and I'm writing a book and that kind of stuff. That's all good. But is it good enough? Okay, again, as you said, it depends what you want. But right now, there's more out there. So why should we accept mediocrity?
You're talking to the wrong person.
I know. That's why I asked you that question.
You're talking to something. One of my managers actually scolded me for kind of blasting by people that I consider to live in mediocrity. It's just like, okay, you gotta move, and they wouldn't move, so I just shoved them aside or walked over them. Probably walked over them. And the manager called me an unbridled stallion. Now, that is probably not a good way to, scold me, but I took it as a compliment.
That's a great compliment.
I mean, you're 22, 23 years old. I'm like, he called me an unbridled stallion. I took it as a good thing. Some people, it might have shattered their world, but
No.
I don't want to. I was first going to say I understand mediocrity, but I don't want to understand it. Right?
Yes.
I don't
yes.
want to feel like I'm coasting through life. In my book, in one of the chapters, I start off the chapter just like that. I mean, I was in the payroll business, and I had a partner at the time, and we were making consistent amount of money every month, every year, week in, week out for 10 years. And in those 10 years, my partner is one of those people that would always say, oh, you think one day we can elevate. Oh, one day and let's not make any mistake. This is a ton of money already. So it's like, you think we can make, of course, right? But nobody was doing anything about it. Everything that I would do on my own was just fleeting because nobody else wanted to elevate.
Yes.
And I settled, or coasted, as I say, for 10 years. Year in, year out, consistent money. I should count my blessings, right? I mean, it's not a bad life. But to me, it was like sticking needles in my eyes.
Yes.
Only because there were so many people that would come with these opportunities. But with opportunities, there's a complex group of commitments that you have to perform. I was the only one willing to perform them. Nobody else in my group wanted to. And so you just figure, well, you know what, go with the path of least resistance, and let's not just fight it. I got a nice life. I got a beautiful home. I got several cars, But one day it was just eating me alive. And I just snapped. I could not coast anymore. And I made a rash and sudden decision, but it was the best decision for me, to leave my partner and actually leave the group behind and start another group, a bigger group that I cultivated for that following year and a half. And then it's almost like turning on a faucet. Once all the pieces, the new pieces were in place, I turned it on and so the amount of money, and I don't want to cheapen this by talking about money, but don't forget, I was money motivated, money driven for 40 years. It was kind of like all about money for me, right? So where my partner kept wishing for, maybe a 10% increase tick in revenue, by leaving them behind, it's just really funny because it was 1,000 times bigger when I left. 1,000. Not 10%, 1,000 times more.
Wow.
To the point where it's just like, wow. Even I said, wow, right? But I did it because I knew I could, because there were so many people coming to the table. And, it's just like, imagine a hungry wolf and you just keep passing steaks in front of the wolf. I mean, come on, you're a wolf, you want one of them. So it's not greedy. It was just what motivated me. I want to make that clear. But coasting is a terrible thing. You get in a rut, you get tunnel vision, my belief, because I've lived it. And every day kind of seems the same. And when every day seems the same, you get less out of it, I think, than changing your patterns, kind of widening the scope of your vision to see a much bigger world than the one that you focused on. That brings up a really good point about, I've said this a couple of times, one of the categories that I'd like to say counsel, but I'm not a counselor, so I don't know what you want to call it. But anyway,
Consulting.
One of the categories that I help, that I talk with, is the category that I've labeled the as good as it gets category. And that really is exactly what you're saying, coasting, right? It's not that they have hardship. They're certainly not homeless. They don't have an addiction problem. They don't necessarily have anything that we would consider harmful, right? Which makes it all the more complex and complicated to attack. It's a silent community that quietly mourns because they do have the house on the hill and they do have the white picket fence, and some of them do have beautiful families, and it comes with a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, and they're still not happy. Yeah. When maybe they've been told all their lives, if you get this and this and this, you'll be happy. Count your blessings. You ever hear that one? Count your blessings. Be happy with what you have.
No.
Yeah, you should count your blessings, and you should be happy and grateful for what you have. But why should there be a limit on what you should have? And I don't mean this in a greedy way. Fulfillment in my old age of 57 has come to include purpose and contribution and participation and philanthropy and help and hope and, all the others, and money, but it's not the only thing.
Yes,
you see,
yes,
it's a much richer life. It's a much richer existence for me because there's less dull moments in my life. There's less coasting. And it doesn't mean running 24/7 like I am now to say, oh, I'm busy. You know how busy I am? You don't have to be all that, right? But you have to feel fulfilled. If just showing up and chatting with somebody unannounced, you just walk into their home and, hey, I was in the area, I wanted to stop in, see how you're doing. That could be fulfilling, right? Mm-hmm. And that takes time out. What you want to do, what I want to do, is ultimately be in a place where you almost have no concept of time because time just goes so quickly.
Yes.
And you're just like, wow, where did the day go? But I've had a full day. I don't know why I'm tired, but I'm tired. Well, guess what? You've been doing this and this and this and this. You've been using your brain. You've been using your body. You've been traveling. All that stuff, right, is a beautiful slice of life. Am I always going to feel this fulfilled by what I'm currently doing? Probably not. And that's when you have to introduce the variable of human nature, right? The book, yes. There is no box, the magazine, Life Without Limits. What we're discussing today, I suppose, is accepting your limitations, which I don't believe. So there's a lot of things in this podcast right now that I can't fully understand. I can't relate to it because I'm not wired that way.
Mm. But that's why I brought it up, because it's nice. It's nice to see how you just go, okay, I want to do this, and then you go for it. And that's an important thing for a lot of us to understand. And that's something that I've learned this year, right? To just go for something rather than question it in my head. However, sometimes when you see where you're at, and I'm not comparing it because you can't compare it, but when you got to that point where you said, this isn't good enough anymore. I want more because I can have more. I think that's what I'm speaking about now, where I'm looking around saying, this isn't good enough anymore. I can have more. And why should I settle for what I've got right now and not go out and get more? So I think we're speaking the same language, but different words.
Yeah, it all has a lot to do with the maybe the thing that we can all relate to when we were kids is that what do they call it? A whoopee, that comfortable blanket. Yes. And sometimes settling is that comfortable blanket.
Yes,
it's safe. It's you're accustomed to the patterns. You're going to have bad days, but you can handle it because it's within your whoopee. It's within your comfort zone, right? Sometimes it's great to kind of push and even punch holes through that comfort zone to experience more. Yes. A friend recently sent me a private message. I'm not going to go into the details, but only to say that I know I could do more. I know I'm better than this. I know I could be better in business, but I sometimes I have so much on my plate that I should have done this. I'm not quick enough. And, but if you ask the question, how big do you want your business to be? They're the first ones to say, oh, the sky's the limit. Okay, the sky's the limit, right? What are you prepared to do to achieve that? That's a different question, right? You're going to bring in, well, I could have done this, but, I'm just so busy, or I have to take care of so-and-so, or I have to do this. You don't understand. My family's draining me. They're pulling me from all sides. You don't understand. My friend's going through a really rough time. So, I'm kind of distracted. I get it. And I'm not disagreeing or making fun of any of those reasons. I was trained to call them excuses. So I'm not being insulting. I'm just talking about me. That's how I was trained. Because it really is an excuse, maybe not to anybody else, but to yourself. It kind of makes sense. Well, I could be this, but the reason I'm not is this.
Yes.
So you recognize where you could be, but there's something holding you back. It could be anything, but usually most times it's you. It's
Yes.
It's like my former partners. My former partners did not want to leave their comfort zone. Hey, we have it good. We got it made in the shade. There were some coasters off my coattails, I'm not going to lie, including my former partner sometimes. That's unimportant. The important thing is that if I'm saying, you know what, we're only halfway up the mountain and I see the peak and we're not even close. And they're saying, yeah, I know. The mountain's a lot higher, but you know what? I like it here. Then you have a choice. You can either say, okay, well, let's camp out here, and I guess this is the best we can do. Or you could say, you know what? My journey is maybe a little bit different than yours, right? It's an individual test of your own will. You got to always compete with yourself, right? Because you will be bored. You will get bored. Your brain is so efficient and so fast.
Yes.
That it adapts to the changes in your life, just like people who exercise. Ever go to the gym and you see people, they're there every day. And you see people that are there 2 hours, 3 hours. These are 2 3-hour workouts. For me, that's crazy. I would never do it.
Right.
Because it's not sustainable as far as I'm concerned. 2 hours, no. But anyway, they do it. And I'm not making fun. I mean, it's great that they're being healthy. But if you notice their shape, their bodies, it's like, wow, if you're here every day, you tell me you're here every day at the gym and you're working out 2 hours, in my head, I'm thinking, man, you should come in like Charles Atlas.
Yeah,
But
nice.
one of the things, and I'm not a health instructor or anything like that, but one of the things is that you find is your muscles, just like your brain, get familiar with your training patterns.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, I got this. I know what they're going to do first. They're going to do the treadmill. Then they're going to do some fake curls. Then they're going to do this and that. I got you. So your muscles are saying, hey, you know what? I've become so efficient. I don't have to grow to compensate for a change. There are no changes. So you're always the same. Body shape, body mass, always the same. In comes me, right? Who kind of understands the changes a little bit. And when people are like, oh my God, do you work out? You work out? I'm like, I do every day. Oh, what do you do? I go 1 minute planks, 1 minute. And they get angry. And I don't blame them because I can't even believe it. But for 1 year, to compensate for some old battle scars and injuries, I had to relearn how to do exercises. And I also knew that I wanted a sustainable way of living. I don't want to do the things where, you get so big you can't fit in your suit or you have to take all these. I've done all that. I guess my point is that even with that 1 minute, every minute is different. Every day is different. I trick my muscles. So it's never the same exercise. And I've learned this by myself. There's no internet thing I did or Google or whatever. It's just trial and error, and you just kind of learn what's best for you. And it may not work for everybody, but it works for me. And the reason is because I understand that the muscle is similar to your brain. I mean, it's extremely efficient and fast and smart, and it learns your patterns. So if you change your patterns, it has to work to learn something new. And this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
So that whoopee that feels real comfortable, you got to understand that if you got to, if you stretched your boundaries or poked a hole through your comfort zone, that whoopee eventually will still be there. You'll feel just as comfortable, if not more comfortable, because it reacts, it gets used to it. So people in their comfort zone, in their bubble, think, well, if I get out, oh, that's scary. Yeah, it is. But once you get out and you've trained your body and your brain for this new world, this new step, this new venture that you've done, then all of a sudden you're in your comfortable blanket again because it feels comfortable, because you get used to it.
Yes, yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, I love that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that we should do something small, and I know we've said this, but maybe something small to break those excuses, because there are excuses. I mean, I can say, you know what, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't do this because of that, I have to rely on this or whatever. I can make up the excuses and sit and do nothing. Or I can say, okay, you know what, who's got the power here, me or you or everybody else? Now take it back and decide what you want to do.
Right.
And then take it to the next level.
Right.
So yes, I love that, because and it's more fun as well. So as you venture out and take a different road, like, why am I always walking the same path? The path gets broken because you're always working. Take another road and see where it takes you.
Yeah. Or I mean, you take a path. Maybe there's no road there yet, but if you want to get there, you get there. You know what I mean? Well, I don't want to be the first one that walked here. Nobody's walked here. Then it must not be safe. I'm going to walk where everybody else walks, because why would I walk this way? Why wouldn't you? You see what I'm saying? And then later on, when you walk the road less traveled and you accomplish something in your life, then they're like, oh, wow, you're incredible. What a G. No, I just went where I wanted to go. That's all. You could have done the same thing. But people want safe. People want comfort. People don't want to be necessarily the first. There's safety in numbers. Take that any way you want. But sometimes you got to do stuff for you. And if you rely on somebody else to show you how you can be happy, we got a problem there, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to achieve everything that you desire or want, but in at least trying, you're able to gain new experiences every single day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you see these people. We covered something in the magazine last issue on centenarians. I didn't even know what that meant, but it means people that are 100 or older. And if you read through some of the people that we covered, they have remarkable lives, still active lives. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Forget everything that they've seen over the span of their lifetime. That tremendous respect on its own. But what got me even more is you're 100 or 101, 102. And some of the things that they are telling me that they're doing currently makes me embarrassed. And you think, how do these people do it? All I want to do is maybe have a glass of warm milk and lay down. That's how we see it, right? Because I'm not 101. They are. And they're saying, hey, guess what? Guess again. I may be 101. I certainly don't feel 101.
Yes.
And I'm going to enjoy life any way I want.
Yes.
And they have fruitful, fulfilled lives, which is incredible. Right?
Yes. So because I always say, I've noticed that people always they think about age all the time. For me, age is a number. That's it. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge to do things, because people go like, oh, you know what, at a certain age, like some people say you're 30 or whatever, a certain age, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be climbing up ladders or jumping up things. And it's like, what is this? I'm 35, So for me, age is a number, and it's probably because my grandfather, he was like that until 96. And his stubbornness killed him. But anyway, so he would, like at 96, you'd say, come, let me help you down the stairs. He'd run down the stairs. Age is a number. And I think if we have that kind of attitude, we can do anything. And I want to challenge you. You were saying, like, maybe we can't have everything we want. Why can't we? Maybe we can. Maybe we can have everything we desire.
Sometimes it's physically impossible. Like I talked about, I think, I'll think of an idea, or I'll think of I don't even know what you want to call it. It just comes in my head, right? Let's equate that to a symphony that somebody who writes music hears or sees in their head, whatever, pick one. You could do both. But physically, to play those notes is impossible. So you come as close to what's in your head as possible. There's things that defy physics. Let's put it that way. So that's what I'm saying. But other than that, pretty much anything's possible. And if it's not possible the way you may have envisioned it, it certainly is attainable a different way. The same way as my workouts. I had to adjust for a bad hip or, an injury or something like that. I can't do the things the way others do them. Do I stop completely? No. You work around it. You find a different way. That's what I mean.
Yes. Exactly. You find a way to suit you, but you don't stop yourself from doing it. So if you're stopping yourself and making the excuses, why are you doing that? Why are you making those excuses? So maybe that's a time to go and deep dive and say, what do I really want? Because if I really want this, am I going to make those excuses, or am I going to find a way?
Yeah, and it comes down to, I don't want to call it laziness, but it's what are you prepared to do to get there? It's great to wish something, but then it takes action.
Yes.
Right? And your action is going to be determined by a lot of factors, but let me think of an appropriate one, especially for this podcast. Fear. I'll say it.
Big one.
Okay. Let me guess. Fear. 9 times out of 10, what's preventing you from moving forward is fear, sometimes crippling fear.
Yes.
And I've gone through crippling fear too. I know what I'm talking about. It's the fear where I'm so afraid I actually walk like this. I don't even know why. I don't know why I walk like this. But you walk like, you feel comfortable. You're hiding. You're like a turtle trying to get into a shell. There is no shell, but you think it is.
Yes.
It's so much fear, you're petrified. You're inactive. You would rather choose and sit in a chair immobile. Do you want to watch TV? No. Game? No. Do you want to play cards? No. Do you want something to eat? Mm-mm. What are you going to do? Just sit in this chair. I've done that too.
Yes.
I don't even understand why that happens. But when I say petrified fear, whoever's experienced this, and I'm sure it's not just me.
No. Yes.
That's the fear. Some people will morph it and call it anxiety, or they'll call it some acronyms, new way of saying the same thing. I don't know, a million times. I call it fear. Okay. And fear is very debilitating. Fear will cripple you. Fear can destroy you. It will consume you. It starts making you believe things are not attainable.
Yes.
It brings down your self-esteem. And then when all those things happen, almost always when you speak to somebody, either through direct message, got to use the fancy current thing, or by phone or in person or whatever, I can feel the state of mind somebody's in just simply by how they are conversing with me. Takes practice, but anybody can do it. I'm not a special guru. But almost always when you're in that state, this defeatist state, you're going to say defeatist things. And you're going to make statements that deflect, right? And you can always tell the state of mind of somebody. So don't assume for anything that just because somebody is clean and neat and polished or well-dressed or puts on a smile or says, great, everything's great. Don't assume that that is what it is. You know, I mean, if you really care about how somebody's doing, don't just say, how are you? Stick around for the answer. You may be surprised. But almost always, you know, what we're always talking about is fear-based phobias that affect the mind. That's the bottom line, right? And we've been talking about this together for a year. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I mean, these are just simply fear-based phobias. They become real based on how you handle things, right?
Yes. And I know exactly how you feel with that paralyzing fear. hence the name Break Fear, Find Freedom.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced it so many times where I'm just in the corner like this, and it's like,
and you don't want to do anything.
You don't want to do anything.
Right.
You're frozen and you can't do anything, and everything you think about is scary.
It's a chore, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Everything
you want to eat? No. You know what I'm saying? And then you have, what's worse is, you know, I would have my phone next to me, right? Praying that nobody would email me, text me, or call me.
Yes.
But I'm still holding it. But I don't want it to be used. Do you understand how, I mean, so the reason we're laughing about this, it's funny because, you know, every day is a new day. Every day is the ability to have a fresh start, right? And look at life through a fresh pair of eyes, right? But at the time, I'm pretty sure you and I, when we went through these things individually, were not smiling or laughing. I mean, it was terrifying. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Actually, I'd rather die than feel like that. You know, and now what a difference a day makes where you're just like, you know, understand that this may happen again.
Yes.
Okay. Finality. You know, just because we finish an episode doesn't mean, okay, we covered this, it'll never happen again. It does. It will. I may walk around like a turtle one day. I don't know. But if that ever happened, I'd be the first one to say, you know what? I've walked around like a turtle before, and I remember how this play ends. I've seen this play before. Let me walk out because I'm not interested in playing, going down this road again.
Yes.
You remember. Remember.
Yes.
You store it in your memory bank. You use it as experience, personal experience, which is the number one way to learn. Not through Google, not through somebody's book. And I'm saying this and I'm an author. Not through blogs or whatever people take as gospel, through your own experiences. I was in a meeting recently, and somebody who was very passionate about a subject that we were covering stood up and said, I haven't done this, but I've researched the data for 15 years on this.
Wow.
And the research shows that this happens, not this happens. And I'm thinking to myself, you're a researcher of data. That's like somebody saying 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this toothpaste. Oh, 4 out of 5. Well, yeah, it's a good toothpaste. How do you know? Have you tried it? You ever tried it? Maybe I'm the one guy out of 5 that doesn't like it. I'll never know unless I try it myself. So you can either sit there and be a page turner and do research and make sure you get a government grant because I ain't going to pay you. Or you could just experience life yourself through your own eyes.
Yes. And take that leap of faith.
Right.
Yes. And again, I'm just going to go back and say exactly that's why that fear becomes easier and easier, because if you go back, if it rises again, you can say, hey, I'm not going down that road again. let me change something. And I mean, it gets better and better with experience again, like you
Right.
said. And it's very interesting how so many people do research. Like the statistics say this and whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not even speaking properly. But what does it really mean? Because you don't know, and
Do you know what
that's
that
a
means?
whole different can of
Do you know what
worms. We
that
won't even
means?
go down that
What
road.
that means is these statistics are the same people that would say, "Oh, this road looks like people have walked on, so I'm going to take this one because this one nobody's walked on. I don't want to be the first one to walk on it. Do you? I mean, there might be a snake. There might be something. There might be a hole in the ground. I better not walk. I better go this way." That's what data shows you. We
Yes.
know that already. Why do we need? Oh, interesting. I mean, really? Try it yourself. You may find that you like it.
Yes.
So it's kind of silly. Look, fear-based things from my earliest memories, fear of monsters in my closet or under my bed, that was real. That was terrifying. Again, I was a turtle. Mom, I have the covers over. Something moved, something touched my leg. It felt real.
Just real.
There's fear of death. What happens when I die? Oh my God, I don't know. I don't want to die. We're talking about death. We're picking out the casket. We're not even there yet,
Yes.
right? There's fear of losing somebody. There's fear of not having friends. There's fear of isolation. There's fear of trying something new. There's so many fears, but it always ends up for me with the turtle.
Yes.
And if you look at it that way, then you just find out, you know what? I don't want to be a turtle. You know what I'm saying? I'm watering it down a little bit, but you got to have a little fun. But
Yes.
there's a lot to what you're saying. It's just people just have to get over it, man. It's just a day. It's just even if it's not a day, it's a week. It could be a year, like you're saying. And if it took a year for you to say, hey, you know what? I think I want more. Well, congratulations. Welcome to my world. Right? I'm not going to sit there and say, well, Carina, it's about time. It took you a year to do this. I'm just going to say, welcome. When you're ready, you're ready.
Yes.
When you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yes. Yes. But it takes a lot of internal work, I think, to do that as well. It takes a lot of confidence because a lot of time and belief in yourself, and we've spoken about it so many times. Because do you believe that you can have more? Do you believe that you can have it all, or do you believe that this is all there is, and this is all you deserve to have? There was something you said in one of the podcasts. I don't know which one of them. Just check it in the playlist, and you were saying that we deserve everything. That's how we were. We deserve everything we want, right? Everything we desire. Something like that.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I'm not quoting you. I can't quote you. But we deserve everything, because isn't that what God intended when he put us here, when he made us, right? If he made us in his image, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be going down this road just for a second, right? And you can I'm just using God because it's a general term, but you can use spirituality in any way.
Here we
but
go
what
with
I'm
your
saying
disclaimers.
I'm just saying, because some people say the universe, and it's just easier
Then let
because
them
God
say
is a
it.
general term.
Let them say it. Again, you got to say what you're saying right now. You got to feel what you're feeling.
Yes, right. So what I'm saying is that God made us in his image, right? Now, God is all perfect. He's all perfect. He's almighty. He's love, energy, whatever it is, right? Energy. So if this is all perfect love, right, then we are all perfect love. Why do we not deserve everything in the world? Like, why do we not deserve the whole world and to experience whatever we want, right? In any way we want. I mean, obviously in a form of love, like I'm talking love, right? I'm not saying go out and kill someone. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. That's not okay. Okay, that's my author mind. I'm saying that.
Okay. Don't go kill anybody. You heard it here.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying in your own heart, you deserve to have a life of excellence. That's what I'm saying before I go into anything I shouldn't do. Rather than, and it depends sorry, Dino, it depends how you define it anyway. Because my life of mediocrity could be someone else's life of excellence. I mean, someone said to me once, you know what, your standards are too high. What is your problem?
Yeah, lower the bar is what I was told once.
Yes, and no, why?
Your standards are too high. You should lower your bar. I'm like,
no.
What do I work at a post office? Are you kidding me? I'm going to raise the bar even higher now just because you mentioned that.
Yes, you must come up to my level. I'm not going down to yours, right?
You're not competing with anybody in life. Everybody has their own infinite individual journey. And back to your thing of God, pre-disclaimers, he gave us the power of choice. That's the magic trick in life, the power of choice. Infinite crossroads. You choose one, there's infinite outcomes. Infinite outcomes you choose, more infinite outcomes. No two people travel the same path.
Yes.
And there is good in failure through those choices. Because then if everything was perfect and excellent, you wouldn't know what perfect and excellent was. You'd be so used to it.
Yes.
Imagine losing a game with a perfect season. And you see these people, they have crying rooms, they have pillows now, they have special blankets, they have counselors. And you know what? If that's your thing, if that's what works for today, that works. But you know what? You got to remember how to fail. You got to remember what that feels like. Because when you do reach that, even temporary utopia, what I do is, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. Okay, a minute's up. Let's go. Next one. Right? It may not take a minute, but it's different for everybody. But I love those hurdles. I love conquering those hurdles. And I do take a deep breath every time I accomplish something. Because it's a milestone.
Yes.
In my life. And I appreciate those. I appreciate them most when I'm on the other side and I failed. And I'm like, oh, wow, did I take a wrong turn? But you can say that with more conviction and belief and confidence every single time it happens. Because when it happens to you so many times, like your muscles, they get used to it. It's just like, you ever hear that thing? Just water off a duck's back. It's a big saying in sales. Oh, if they say no, it's just water off a duck's back. You know, but if you just started sales, you don't want to hear the word no. No's terrifying.
Yes.
Then you get the other salesperson that goes by statistics. Well, you know, you have to hear 7 no's before you hear a yes. Okay, move on. You know, how about just trying it for yourself? And sometimes I'll get 7 yeses every time I ask. Sometimes I'll get 7 no's in a row. Sometimes I'll get a mixture. But I don't fear the word no as much because you start getting used to it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But if you never heard the word no, it could be destructive. You mean what? And then they make you feel good. Well, it's not no forever. It's just no right now. Yeah, just to kind of soften your blow and whatever. Look. You gotta try things. You gotta be brave. You gotta face your demons. You gotta be prepared also to suffer consequences.
Yes,
okay?
Of course.
Not every crash landing is gonna come with a helmet and special pads on the ground. Some of them hurt really hard. I mean, they hurt a lot. But you get over it and you just move on.
Yes.
What are you prepared to do to get to the next level? And that's how we started this, right?
Yes.
So you're saying, I've decided I don't want to coast, and I've decided that I want more out of life. Okay, great. Congratulations. What are you prepared to do about it? Next question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's the right question. And then as the excuses come, then you can throw them off. It's something like so interesting. We'll go back to the book and how you published the book, right? And it's like, whoa, you published the book. And then you get a physical copy and go, whoa, I've done the copy. And then you look through the copy and you see that oh no, there's an orphan there, or oh, there's a gap here, or whatever. So I need to fix it again. But now I know how to publish a book. So it's okay to publish other books because it's not so scary anymore. So it's always once you've done that first step, then it gets easier and easier.
Right. That's right. And it's not that difficult. And, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Like me, there are typos. A lot of people have told me in my book. And, at first I was, okay, let me go back and find which ones they are, because, there can't be. And then you start playing with sentences. Then, I had this comma here, but should it really be a comma here? Or should there be a pause? Should there be 3 dots? Should there be Look, I've made it very, very clear. I am not an author. I'm a storyteller. I did the best I could with the book. The greatest thing is I wrote it with heart and emotion, and it's resonated with millions of people. I'm blessed for that. I'm not going to go back and change a thing in my book. I'm going to leave it as is, because it's even better imperfect, I think. Mm-hmm. It's even better that it wasn't written by a famous author, because I'm not. I'm just some dude that wanted to put down my feelings on paper, because I understood very clearly that I can't be the only one feeling like this. So I'm happy with that. I'm not going to go back and dwell on how perfect my book is. The book's out. The book's doing its job. The book is serving way more than I expected.
Yeah.
But there's so many other things I want to do. I'm not going to go back down the mountain to fix a sentence structure. I'm just going to keep going, right?
Yes. But what I'm saying is that now that the book's out, it's easier to publish other books, because it's easier to go up that mountain. That's what I mean.
And it's easier to be like, you know what? It's not that important that my picture wasn't perfect. It's not that important that, this wasn't done right. I mean, you don't dwell on these. They become insignificant things in the big picture. I mean, did you write a book just to write a book? Did you write a book just so you could sell X amount of copies and make X amount of money? Or did you really write a book that, one, selfishly, was therapy for you?
Yes.
2, is therapy for other people. The mission should be the therapy, not how beautiful or pretty the book is, right?
Yes.
And so in the beginning, I don't know how, I know you had some challenges too, but in the beginning I had people, again, the 4 out of 5 dentists, they said, you shouldn't really talk about addiction. You shouldn't talk about drugs. Maybe you should just call it what they do now is
substance
abuse disorder. Oh man, it's addiction. It's drug addiction. It's alcoholic. That's what I'm going to call it. You shouldn't talk about maybe possibly the God thing and the spiritual thing in the last chapter. You shouldn't really focus on that. You've had a 40-year storied business career. You should focus on the business career. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend it. I'm like, no. Who am I competing with? Tony Robbins? Who am I competing with? These people that have published 10, 20 books. They have ghostwriting teams that, I mean, you barely even read your own book. No, I wanted a book that I personally wrote, that I personally felt, I personally cried on every page, or laughed, or was reflective. That was me. That was me. And I'm going to write about the bad stuff that I went through. And I'm going to write about the good stuff that I went through and the funny things that I went through. And I am going to swear in my book, because not in this podcast, but in life, I got a tendency to swear. It doesn't mean anything bad. I'm not like a drunken sailor, but people use that language. At least they did in my world. If you don't like that, then don't buy my book. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem to bother people. And some people that you'd never expect would read my book, read it, and they're like, I love it. I'm like, oh my God, you read the 4-letter words. I can't believe you read my book. But they don't seem to care. They're looking past that and they're getting something out of it. The feeling is what's important, right?
Yes.
So again,
The
that's breaking my comfort zone. Or I could have just been completely terrified and petrified by fear of, you're not a writer, you've never written a book. How are people going to take you seriously? If it's not perfect, you shouldn't put it out. You should change those words. You shouldn't talk about God. You shouldn't call it addiction. You shouldn't mention drugs. Okay. Fast forward maybe 2-3 years, I'd still be a turtle. Or you just try it. What's the worst thing that happens, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that I don't know who you were speaking to, but if anyone's ever read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that's all that story is about, is drugs and alcohol and whatever. So it's interesting to see your kind of the people that were advising you. And I'm going to go back to last week where you said, "Hey, watch out who you listen to or who you share your thoughts with." So I'm just going to leave that at that, just as a by and by.
Yeah, I did say that. And I wasn't really thinking necessarily of this, but I mean, look, inexperienced people have a tendency to seek counsel or advice from the ones that are deemed experienced, right?
Yes.
And again, I mean, I go back to the No Box Network podcast, right? And the first one where I was talking about my first mentor.
Yes.
And I would say that my first mentor, by today's comparison, by today's standards, would be a nobody, would be a loser, would be considered a nothing. They're not on TikTok. They won't keep your attention in the first 7 seconds. They're not on any Google ranking. You'd never see them. They don't have millions of followers. They don't have a Instagram. They don't have a Facebook. Oh my God, how can you follow somebody who's not? You know why? Because they didn't have those things with my first mentor, right? But what I was personally interested in were the characteristics that I admired, right? The charisma, stoic, confidence, arrogance, even. I mean, all the things that I was like, wow. And you're talking a 16-year-old kid who's impressionable. Thank God that somebody like that made an impression on me and not somebody different. Today is a little different. It's there's more window shopping for authorities, for authority figures, right? You have the power of the internet and all that goes with it. Not really understanding that some of these people are ranked high because they actually pay money to be ranked high. I'm not knocking them. There's a lot of good ones. But what I'm saying is you feel as though you have so many choices. And again, 4 out of 5 dentists, if somebody in Google ranking 1 has 10 million followers and they say they're going to help you with X, Y, and Z, you have a tendency to say, well, you know what? 10 million people can't be wrong. So let me try. But is that right for you? So the authority that I went to for my book was just that. It was a new world, new way of looking up people. And they came very highly recommended. They are good. I'm not knocking them. They just weren't right for me. They understand mainstream. They understand the 4 out of 5 people. They don't understand that one. And I'm not exactly saying that I've lived a normal life according to them, okay? They can't understand all the things that I went through. They couldn't understand. They're just like, well, mainstream likes that. Well, I'm not here to please mainstream. I'm here to please the people that I'm trying to touch are the ones that I feel have lost hope. Forgotten people, the ones that silently mourn. It's really funny that as we're talking, I'm approaching 200,000 sales of my book.
Wow, congratulations. That's so cool.
Well, it confirms what I believe.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting, it's not the bragging about that. I'm proud of it, but I'm not bragging about it. There's only 8 global reviews. Now, it took me a while to figure it out, but the reason there's only 8 global reviews is because nobody wants to put their name on a book that's associated with drugs, alcohol, depression, addiction, spiritualism, and God. So much so that they would not put a review, but they're still direct messaging me, emailing me, contacting my people. I mean, there's life behind the book. I mean, the magazine, millions. It's because of the book. But you'd never think that if you talked to the first people that I hired. They're the ones that said, and maybe they were right in a way, nobody's really going to want this. It's not popular. It's a hot topic right now, is exactly what they said. Maybe they were right. That's why there's only 8 reviews. But what they fail to realize is there's people that won't give me a review. They'll still buy my book. Do you see? Yes. So if I cared about reviews, I'd listen to them and I'd say, hey, I got 8 reviews. Or I could say, because I did what I believed in so strongly, because I stretched out past my comfort zone, because I wasn't the 4 out of the 5 dentists that recommended this certain way. I sold hundreds of thousands of copies of my book, and now I have millions of followers and millions of readers for my magazine. And this is just the beginning. Trust me.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, wow. Isn't it sometimes fun to take the road less traveled?
It's always fun. And for me, it's always like listening to what you've done. This is what I'm hearing, is that you listen to yourself. You listen to Dino, because Dino knew. I mean, only you can know, like only I can know whether what I'm doing is right. Inside my heart, only I can know. And a lot of times, I mean, I'm really bad. I hardly ever, at a risk, I don't usually listen to advice, because people will tell me things and I'll go, yeah, and then do it my way anyway. Mm-hmm. And at the risk of, like, lots of times falling and bashing my face, but hey, getting up and doing it anyway. So, and I'm not saying that's a good way to go, because you have to listen to people and you have to follow some advice, because there's a lot of people that know better than you do, and that's quite arrogant. But that's not what I'm saying. Is at the end of the day, you need to listen to your own heart and believe and have faith in yourself to know that you're going in the right way. Because if you had gone their way, you wouldn't be talking about this, and you wouldn't have all these followers, and you wouldn't have sold so many.
But it wouldn't have just been a dead end. I mean, we're looking at it now as, well, if I followed them, I'd be dead. No, I wouldn't be.
No. It could have been
because there's infinite crossroads and choices if I went down that road anyway. I'm just saying that in every single aspect of my life, I haven't exactly been somebody who has taken the advice of others, especially when they're talking about me. I don't care if you're the smartest person in the world. You may be an expert in statistics. You may be an expert on X, Y, and Z, expert from experience. You're not an expert of me. You do not know me. And same way I don't know you. Same way I don't know anybody that I talk to. It's a personal journey. So when they have that term, I'll take it under advisement, use that literally. Just because you're being advised on something doesn't mean you have to do it 100% gospel. You do it your way that fits your needs, right?
Yes. So that's a good way. So now we'll just go back to the beginning of the show where we say mediocrity. So I was talking about settling, right? So it's up to you. You can settle and you can decide what your mediocrity is. And where do you go from here? So what are your thoughts to end the show?
That was a good show. That was a good show. I don't want to add on to something that we just keep repeating. I mean, obviously, coasting, do you want to coast the rest of your life, or do you want to break out of your comfort zone? Get rid of that whoopee. Sometimes it's good for you. Right?
It's very good for you. You need to outgrow it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a good show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dino. It was a good show. And thank you to everybody. And thank you to everybody who was watching and listening. And we'll see you next week. with something exciting. See you all.
Bye.